Some Chevys were built to be legends, but a few were so rare they became myths. From fire-breathing street beasts to secret factory experiments, these 15 muscle cars from the 1960s are nearly impossible to find today. If you think you've seen it all, wait until you meet the rarest Chevys ever made. Number 15, 1969, Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Starting with 1969, Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Only 69 of them were ever built. That alone makes it one of the rarest muscle cars in history. But rarity is just the beginning. This was no ordinary Camaro. It was the most powerful, quickest, and most extreme version ever made, packed with an engine so special that even Chevrolet hesitated to sell it. However, the ZL1 was built for one purpose: dominating drag racing. Chevrolet had already created some brutal machines, like the 427 Yenko Camaro and the mighty L88 Corvette. But this one went even further. Hidden inside, 427 cubic inch V8, made almost entirely from aluminum. It wasn't just lighter than a regular engine, it was also stronger, more advanced, and produced more than 500 horsepower. That was an insane number for a car in the late 1960s. It was originally designed for the Can-Am racing series, where open-wheel race cars tore around tracks at blinding speeds. Somehow, Chevrolet decided to drop this beast into a street-legal Camaro. Vince Piggins, one of Chevrolet's performance masterminds, made sure the ZL1 Camaro got built under a secret program called the Central Office Production Order, or COPO. Normally, the system was used to make fleet vehicles like police cars and taxis, but a few dealers figured out they could use it to create the ultimate performance machines. One of them was Fred Gibb, who pushed for the ZL1 package to be made for the Camaro. Chevrolet needed to build at least 50 of them for the National Hot Rod Association to allow it in racing, so they did. They ended up making 69. It was an absolute monster on the drag strip. With stock tires and factory exhaust, it could run the quarter mile in just over 13 seconds. But with a few modifications, slick tires, headers, and tuning, it was screaming down the track in the 11-second range at more than 120 miles per hour. That made it the fastest Chevrolet ever sold to the public. But there was a catch. The ZL1 package alone cost more than $4,000, nearly doubling the price of a regular Camaro. That meant many of them sat unsold at dealerships, and some had their engines removed and sold separately. It took years to get rid of all 69. Today, they are some of the most valuable Camaros ever, each one a legend of speed and power. Number 14, 1967, Chevrolet Corvette L88. Back in 1967, Chevrolet made something special, something so rare that only 20 people in the entire world could own one. It was the Chevrolet Corvette L88, a car built for pure speed and power, but one that almost no one knew about at the time. Chevrolet never advertised it, never encouraged people to buy it, and even made it difficult to own. Why? Because this was not just a regular car. It was a racing monster hiding in plain sight. The L88 was born in secrecy. General Motors had an anti-racing rule, but a small group of engineers worked behind closed doors to create an engine that would crush the competition. By the end of 1965, their secret project was ready. A beastly 427 cubic inch engine with lightweight aluminum heads, a forged steel crankshaft, and an 850 cubic feet per minute Holley carburetor. It made more than 550 horsepower, but Chevrolet played a trick on the public. They rated it at 430 horsepower, trying to keep street drivers away. This was no ordinary muscle car. It was built for racetracks, not for cruising down Main Street. Although the first real test came at the 24 Hours of Daytona in 1966. Roger Penske's racing team put the L88 to work, and it was leading its class until a crash slowed it down. Even with taped-on flashlights to replace broken headlights, it still finished first in its category. That was just the beginning. At Le Mans, an L88 Corvette hit 171 miles per hour on the Mulsanne Straight before the engine finally gave out after 13 grueling hours. Another L88 set a record at Bonneville Salt Flats, proving it could push past 190 miles per hour. Chevrolet made sure only serious racers could buy one. The L88 came with heavy-duty brakes, a 4-speed manual transmission, and no heater or radio. It was loud, rough, and untamed. Today, these Corvettes are among the most valuable in the world. One was sold for $3,850,000, proving that sometimes The rarest cars are the ones built to race. Number 13, 1969 Chevrolet Corvette ZL1. In 1969, the race for horsepower was wild. Every car company was building the fastest, most powerful machine they could put on the streets. But Chevrolet had a secret weapon, the rarest, most powerful Corvette ever built. It was called the ZL1, and it was no ordinary car. Only 2 were ever made, making it one of the rarest Corvettes in history. The ZL1 was not just another big-engine Corvette. This car had an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch engine, which made it lighter and faster than anything else on the road. It was based on the legendary L88 Corvette, but the ZL1 took things even further. With better airflow, stronger parts, and raw power, it was a beast disguised as a sports car. Some say it had 585 horsepower, a crazy number for a street-legal car back then. But power came at a price. The ZL1 option alone cost $4,718, more than most cars at the time. Adding in the required high-performance brakes, suspension, and rear axle, the total price of the ZL1 Corvette went over $10,000. That was more than double the price of a regular Corvette, making it nearly impossible for an average buyer to afford. Because of this, Chevrolet sold only 2. One of these legendary ZL1 Corvettes belonged to John Marr, a racing fan from Pennsylvania. He had a connection with Don Yenko, a famous Chevrolet dealer, and managed to order a ZL1 for racing. But because he wanted an automatic transmission, production was delayed for months. Eventually, Gulfoil, the car's sponsor, convinced Chevrolet to build it, and by December 1968, John had his dream car. John raced the ZL1 for years, swapping engines and pushing the car to its limits. By 1972, he parked it, and it stayed hidden for years. When he finally brought it out in 1989, the original engine was damaged, thanks to a mouse making a home inside. But John never gave up. He rebuilt the engine and kept racing. And today, this ultra-rare ZL1 remains one of the greatest Corvettes ever made. Stay tuned for more of Chevy's rarest masterpieces. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single one. Number 12, 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle Z16. In 1965, Chevrolet did something bold. They took their mid-sized Chevelle, already a solid car, and gave it a secret weapon, a big, powerful 396 cubic inch engine. But this wasn't just any Chevelle. This was the Chevelle Z16 SS 396, a car so rare that only 200 units were ever made. That's right, just 200. It wasn't listed in dealer brochures, it wasn't widely advertised, and it wasn't easy to get. Chevrolet wanted this car to be special, and they made sure only a few lucky people got their hands on it. At first glance, the Z16 didn't look much different from a regular Chevelle SS. It came only as a hardtop coupe and was offered in just 3 colors: red, black, and yellow. It had subtle black and chrome trim, small 396 badges, and unique mag-look wheel covers. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed like any other Chevelle, but those who knew cars understood what it really was: a street-legal powerhouse built to make a statement. Inside, Chevrolet gave the Z16 nearly every luxury feature they could. It had bucket seats, a padded dashboard, and even a speedometer that went up to 160 miles per hour, something unheard of in most mid-sized cars of the time. Power steering and brakes came standard, making it easier to handle despite its massive engine. But no one bought the Z16 for comfort. They bought it for what was under the hood. The heart of this beast was a 396 cubic inch V8 engine, producing 375 horsepower. This was Chevrolet's way of showing off their new engine, and they did it in style. The Z16 could only be ordered with a 4-speed manual transmission, which meant every driver had full control of its power. It borrowed heavy-duty parts from the larger Chevrolet Impala, including a reinforced frame and upgraded brakes and suspension. This made sure the car could handle all that extra horsepower without falling apart. With only limited units ever built, the Chevelle Z16 became one of the rarest muscle cars in history. Today, finding one is nearly impossible, and if you do, you'll need a fortune to buy it. Number 11, 1968 Chevrolet Nova SS COPO 9738. In the world of fast Chevrolets, some cars became legends, while others slipped into mystery. The 1968 Chevrolet Nova SS COPO 9738 is one of those rare machines that most people have never even heard of. Only 50 of these cars were ever built, and today, just 12 are known to exist. That alone makes it a hidden treasure. But the real story is why this Nova was so special in the first place. It all started when Fred Gibb, a Chevrolet dealer in Illinois, had an idea that could change drag racing. He wanted a Chevrolet Nova with a big block engine and an automatic transmission, something Chevrolet had never officially offered before. At that time, most high-performance cars with manual transmissions ruled the drag strips, but Gibb knew that an automatic, if built right, could be just as fast, maybe even faster. He reached out to Chevrolet's top performance engineer, and together they made it happen through a secret factory program called the Central Office Production Order, or COPO for short. The result was a small and lightweight Nova, stuffed with a massive 396 cubic inch engine, making 375 horsepower. But the real magic was the Turbo 400 automatic transmission, a heavy-duty gearbox with a special high-stall torque converter. This setup allowed the car to launch hard off the starting line without losing power between shifts. It was a true secret weapon, built not for show but for winning races. Also, Chevrolet never advertised the car, and most people did not even know it existed. The lucky few who got their hands on one had an advantage over the competition. Other racers did not understand how this small Nova was suddenly beating muscle cars that were supposed to be faster. Protests were filed, but the car was completely legal. The COPO 9738. Nova SS ruled drag racing for years, but like many great cars, it was eventually forgotten. By the time racers caught on, newer and faster machines had already taken the spotlight. Many of these Novas disappeared, and to this day, no one knows what happened to most of them. The ones that remain are a piece of Chevrolet history that will never be repeated. Number 10, 1966, Chevrolet Corvette L72. If you want to talk about rare American cars, the 1966 Chevrolet Corvette 427/425 L72 is a name that always stands out, with only over 5,000 total Corvettes ever produced with this engine. This was not just any Corvette. It was a special breed built for power, speed, and exclusivity. Chevrolet had only started putting big block engines in Corvettes the year before. But in 1966, they took things to a whole new level by introducing the 427 cubic inch engine. And just like that, a legend was born. What made this car so rare? It was the only year Chevrolet offered the L72 engine, making it highly sought after today. Back then, if you walked into a dealership and wanted the best performance, this was the car to get. Under the hood, it packed a monstrous 425 horsepower, a figure that was more than enough to send shivers down any driver's spine. This was an engine built for speed, and it had all the right upgrades to handle it. The K66 transistor ignition gave it a stronger, more reliable spark, and the N14-side dual exhaust made sure the roar of this beast was heard loud and clear. But the magic of this Corvette did not stop at the engine. It had an M21 close ratio 4-speed manual transmission, perfect for putting all that power to the pavement. To keep things under control, it came with Chevrolet's Positraction rear axle, which improved traction, especially during high-speed acceleration. On top of that, it was loaded with the best suspension and braking options available. The J56 heavy-duty brake package was an ultra-rare upgrade, and so was the F41 special suspension. This Corvette was not just fast, it was built to handle like a true race car. And then there was the look. Finished in most sport green, a color offered for just 1 year, this Corvette was an instant head-turner. It also had the P48 cast aluminum knockoff wheels, an expensive and rare option. Inside, it was just as special, featuring black leather seats, a teakwood telescoping steering wheel, and power windows. After all these years, finding one of these cars in its original condition is nearly impossible. This Corvette was built to dominate, and that is exactly what it did, on the road, on the track, and in the world of car collectors. Number 9, 1969, Chevrolet Yenko Camaro. The 1969 Chevrolet Yenko Camaro is one of the rarest muscle cars ever made. Just over 200 of these special machines were built, making it a legend among car lovers. But it is not just the small number that makes this car special. It is the way it was created, the man behind it, and the performance that turned it into a beast on the road. Don Yenko was not just any car dealer. He was a man with a vision, and he knew how to make a fast car even faster. His dealership in Pennsylvania became famous for transforming regular Camaros into fire-breathing monsters. He had been swapping powerful engines into Camaros for years, but it was expensive and time-consuming. So he came up with a better plan, convincing Chevrolet to install the high-performance engine at the factory. Using a secret ordering system, Chevrolet agreed to build Camaros with a mighty 427 cubic inch engine, producing well over 400 horsepower. The factory handled the hard work, and Yenko finished them with custom badges, special accessories, and performance tweaks. This made them faster, meaner, and ready to dominate the streets. Every Yenko Camaro came with performance upgrades. The engine was paired with either a manual or automatic transmission and a heavy-duty rear axle with deep gears for quick acceleration. The car had a unique ducted hood for better airflow and stronger cooling parts to handle the power. Yenko also ordered a racing-style speedometer, larger wheels, and a tighter suspension to improve handling. One of the earliest Yenko Camaros had a wild journey. After leaving the factory, it ended up with Yenko himself, who may have used it as a test car. The car was damaged in an accident, abandoned for years, and later restored to its former glory. Today, it is considered the first Yenko Camaro ever built, a piece of muscle car history. This car is not just rare, it represents a golden era of performance, when horsepower ruled and limits were meant to be broken. Number 8, 1963. Chevrolet Impala Z11. Back in 1963, Chevrolet built something that should have been a legend. It was fast, powerful, and built to dominate the drag strip. 57 of these drag cars were built, but Chevy has only documented 50. Anyhow, instead of becoming the king of the streets, it vanished into history, leaving behind only whispers of what could have been. The car? The Chevrolet Impala Z11 is a machine so rare that even car fanatics struggle to find one today. At the time, General Motors had made a strange decision. No racing, no massive engines, nothing that could make their cars compete in the horsepower wars. Meanwhile, Ford and Chrysler were dropping monster engines into their cars, with Chrysler's 426 cubic inch Hemi ruling the tracks. But Chevy had a secret weapon, an engine that could have wiped the floor with the Hemi, the 427 cubic inch Z11 V8. The Z11 wasn't just any engine. It was based on Chevrolet's famous 409, but had a longer stroke, giving it extra power. It had a massive aluminum intake, 2 4-barrel carburetors, and a sky-high compression ratio of 13.5 to 1. That meant it could gulp fuel like a beast and explode with a thunderous 430 horsepower and 575 pound-feet of torque. It was the kind of power that could send a car flying down the quarter mile faster than anything else. But the Impala Z11 wasn't just about brute force. It was a lightweight warrior, shedding nearly 500 pounds with aluminum body panels. Everything unnecessary was stripped away, making it a true factory drag racer. The result? A car that could go from 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds and blast through the quarter mile in 10.8 seconds. Despite all this, Chevrolet's racing ban sealed the Z11's fate. It never made it into production cars and never got the chance to fight the Hemi on the streets. Most people never even saw one. And today, it remains one of the rarest muscle cars ever built, a legend that never got to rule. Number 7, 1962. Chevrolet Bel Air 409 cubic bubble top. Back in 1962, Chevrolet built something special. Among all the full-size cars rolling off the assembly lines, only 8,909 had the legendary 409 cubic inches V8 engine. But even rarer was the combination of this powerhouse engine with the sleek bubble top roofline on the Chevrolet Bel Air. This was the kind of car built for speed, style, and pure muscle, yet only a handful remain today, making it one of the rarest Chevys ever. The bubble top had been around since 1959, with its thin roof pillars and massive wraparound glass, giving the car a futuristic, almost spaceship-like appearance. By 1962, Chevrolet had moved on, giving the Impala a more formal roofline, leaving the unique bubble top design only on the Bel Air. And then, after that year, it was gone forever. This stylish roof, combined with the mighty 409, made the car a true factory-built street racer. With dual 4-barrel carburetors, this engine roared with 425 horsepower, enough to leave most cars in the dust. But power was only part of the story. This Bel Air was lighter than the Impala, making it even faster. It had clean, simple body lines, a no-nonsense look, and a reputation for taking on the best at stoplight drag races. The sound of the 409 under the hood, with its deep growl and earth-shaking rumble, became legendary. Today, finding one of these cars is nearly impossible. Many were raced hard, wrecked, or simply lost to time. Some ended up in barns, stripped of their engines and left to rust. A real 409 bubble-top Bel Air, with its original drivetrain, could be worth a small fortune. But with so few ever built and even fewer surviving, this car remains a ghost of the muscle car era. A machine that once ruled the streets, but is now just a rare piece of history. Number 6, 1961 Chevrolet Impala SS 409. In the year 1961, Chevrolet built 142 Impala Supersport models, with the mighty 409 cubic inch engine. That number may seem small, but the impact of this car was anything but. It was the birth of something legendary, Chevrolet's very first Supersport, a car that made muscle history and even got a shout-out in a famous Beach Boys song. The 1961 Impala had a fresh, new design. The big, dramatic fins of the 50s were gone, replaced with a glossier, more modern look. It was still a big car, but it had the right mix of style and muscle to make a statement. But what really made the Supersport version special was what Chevrolet packed into it. The SS package was not just about looks. It added better suspension, sintered iron brake linings for better stopping power, and a fancy grab bar on the dashboard for any passenger daring enough to ride along. Then, there was the heart of the beast, the 409 cubic inch V8. It was not just an engine, it was a force. This was a bored and stroked version of Chevrolet's 348 V8, but with major upgrades. It had an aluminum intake manifold, forged aluminum pistons, and a camshaft built for high performance. With an 11.25 to 1 compression ratio, this powerhouse pumped out 360 horsepower and 409 pound-feet of torque. That was a serious amount of power for the early 60s. With a 4-speed manual transmission and the right rear axle ratio, this Impala could launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7 seconds and blast through the quarter mile in just over 14 seconds. That kind of speed turned heads at the drag strip and cemented the Impala SS 409's reputation. Though it lasted only a few years, the legend of the Supersport still roars today. It was the beginning of Chevrolet's muscle car era, and despite its rarity, its impact was larger than life. Number 5, 1963, Chevrolet Nova SS L79. The 1963 Chevrolet Nova SS L79 is a car that almost disappeared from history. Out of the 44,000 SS coupes and convertibles produced that year, only a rare few were built with the powerful L79 engine. Over time, most of these Novas were turned into hot rods. Their original parts swapped out for custom upgrades, leaving only a handful in stock form. Finding one today with its factory wheel covers and untouched engine bay is almost unheard of. When the Nova SS first arrived, it was more about sporty looks than raw power. It came with bucket seats, stylish trim, and SS badging, but under the hood, it only had a 6-cylinder engine. That changed when Chevrolet introduced the L79 option, a 327 cubic inch V8, producing 350 horsepower, the same engine found in the Corvette. This lightweight coupe suddenly had the ability to outrun larger muscle cars, making it one of the fastest small Chevys of its time. Despite its potential, the L79 Nova remained an under-the-radar powerhouse. Chevrolet never heavily promoted this option, and most buyers either stuck with the standard 6-cylinder or chose the more common 283 cubic inch V8. As a result, very few Nova SS models were built with the high-performance engine. Many of those that did exist were pushed to their limits on the streets and racetracks. often ending up wrecked or heavily modified. Today, coming across one in original condition is like uncovering a lost piece of muscle car history. With its factory trim, stock wheels, and untouched engine, the rare L79 Nova stands as a reminder of a time when raw horsepower could be hidden beneath an unassuming exterior. Number 4, 1968 Chevrolet Biscayne L72. Back in 1968, Chevrolet built over 1 million full-size cars, but only 568 of them carried the monstrous L72 engine under the hood. Out of those, it is estimated that just 124 were Biscaynes, making this car one of the rarest and most unexpected powerhouses of its time. The Chevrolet Biscayne was meant to be a simple, no-frills machine, often used by taxi companies and police departments. But a few lucky buyers knew the secret hidden within: a factory-built street racer disguised as a plain family car. At first glance, the 1968 Biscayne L72 looked like any other basic sedan. It had a bench seat, steel wheels with small hubcaps, and almost no fancy features. But beneath that unassuming exterior lurked a beast, 425 horsepower, roaring from a 427 cubic inch V8 engine. This was not just any engine. It had high-flowing rectangular port heads, a solid lifter camshaft, and an 11-to-1 compression ratio. Chevrolet originally advertised this motor at 450 horsepower, but quickly lowered the number to keep insurance companies happy. In reality, dyno tests showed that it made even more power than the original claim. Because these cars were built for racing, many owners wasted no time modifying them. Some swapped rear axle gears for better acceleration, others installed stronger engine blocks, and a few pushed their cars beyond their limits. Ennis Lund, one of these fearless racers, shifted his Biscayne at over 7,000 revolutions per minute, well beyond factory recommendations. The original 4.88 axle made the car blisteringly quick off the line, but it ran out of breath before the quarter-mile finish. Many Biscaynes lost their original engines due to extreme use, making surviving examples even rarer today. This car was never about luxury or comfort. It was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Today, finding a real 1968 Biscayne L72 in its original form is nearly impossible. Most were raced hard, wrecked, or rebuilt beyond recognition. But for those who know its history, this plain-looking Chevy remains one of the most legendary sleepers ever made. Number 3, 1969 Chevrolet El Camino SS COPO 427. In 1969, Chevrolet built 323 Chevelle COPO cars, and among them, a rare few were El Caminos. These cars were not flashy, not covered in racing stripes, and did not even wear badges to hint at the monster hiding under the hood. They looked just like any regular Chevelle or El Camino, but the moment the engine roared to life, it was clear they were something special. General Motors had a rule back then. No midsize car could have an engine larger than 400 cubic inches. But some performance-hungry engineers at Chevrolet found a clever way around it. They used a secret ordering system, the Central Office Production Order, or COPO, which was usually meant for fleet vehicles like police cars and taxis. With this system, a handful of Chevelles and El Caminos were quietly fitted with the powerful L72 427 cubic inch V8 engine. This was not just any engine. It was built for raw power, featuring solid lifters, an aluminum intake manifold, and a massive 800 cubic feet per minute Holley carburetor. Chevrolet officially rated it at 425 horsepower, but experts knew it made even more, closer to 450. The car came with heavy-duty suspension, a strong 12-bolt posi-traction axle, and either a 4-speed manual transmission or a reinforced turbo-hydromatic automatic. Unlike other muscle cars of the era, the El Camino COPO 427 had no flashy looks. It borrowed a few styling cues from the super sport models, like the black grille, hood bulges, and chrome exhaust tips. But there were no big emblems or performance badges. To anyone who did not know better, it looked like an ordinary El Camino. But the moment it hit the road, it became a beast. These cars were built for 1 year only, and by the next year, Chevrolet lifted the engine size restriction, making the COPO El Camino an even rarer sight. Many were raced hard, some were wrecked, and others simply disappeared. Today, finding one in its original condition is almost impossible. It was a secret muscle truck that came and went like a ghost, leaving behind only legends. Number 2, 1966, Chevy Nova L79. In 1966, Chevrolet built only 5,481 Nova L79 cars, making it one of the rarest muscle cars of its time. It looked small and simple, but anyone who knew cars could see the crossed flag badges on the fenders and instantly recognize the hidden power. This was no ordinary Chevy Nova. It had the same high-performance engine as the mighty Corvette. Chevrolet first introduced the Nova as a small, affordable car, but in the mid-60s they decided to give it real muscle. That year, the Nova got a fresh new look, with a sleeker design, hooded headlights, and sharp body lines. But the biggest change was under the hood. For the first time, the Nova could be ordered with the legendary 327 cubic inch L79 V8 engine. This was the same motor found in the Corvette, pushing out an impressive 350 horsepower. That was a lot for such a lightweight car, making it a street racer's dream. With its power-to-weight ratio, the L79 Nova was faster than most bigger muscle cars of its time. It could take on the Chrysler Hemi cars and leave them behind at the stoplight. The biggest challenge was keeping the rear tires from spinning too much because of the single-leaf rear springs. But in the hands of an experienced driver, this little Chevy was nearly unstoppable. Despite its performance, not many buyers chose the L79 option, making these cars incredibly rare today. Some were raced hard, some were crashed, and many simply disappeared over the years. But those who were lucky enough to drive one back in the day knew they had something special, a true hidden monster, disguised as a simple, everyday car. Number 1, 1969, Chevrolet COPO, Camaro 9560, Iron Block ZL1. In 1969, Chevrolet built only 69 COPO Camaro 9560 cars, making it one of the rarest muscle cars ever made. This was not just another Camaro, it was a street-legal race car, built to dominate drag strips and leave everything else in the dust. With a massive 427 cubic inch V8 under the hood, this machine had more power than even the mighty Corvette. The secret behind this Camaro's existence was a special order system called Central Office Production Order, or COPO. Normally, Chevrolet did not allow engines bigger than 400 cubic inches in the Camaro, but a dealership owner named Fred Gibb had an idea. He wanted a Camaro that could crush the competition in National Hot Rod Association drag racing. So he used the COPO system to order a batch of Camaros with the most powerful engine General Motors had. This was not just any V8, it was an all-aluminum engine originally built for Can-Am race cars, making the Camaro incredibly fast, but also very expensive. Because of its high cost, the COPO Camaro was not easy to sell. Fred Gibb had planned to sell all of them from his dealership, but the price was almost double that of a regular Camaro. Buyers were hesitant, and many cars had to be sent to other dealerships just to find owners. Some cars even had their engines removed and put into different racing projects. On the track, however, the COPO Camaro was nearly unbeatable. When properly tuned and running racing tires, it could blast through the quarter mile in just over 10 seconds. But most of these cars were raced hard, modified, or wrecked over the years. Today, finding one in its original condition is almost impossible, making this Camaro a true legend of muscle car history. Which of these rare Chevys would you love to own? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more muscle car legends.